In this fact file, we look at the European barbel, the most common out of the 20 or so species in Europe. They are the only one found in Britain, and typically reach a weight of around 6 to 10 pounds and a length of 30 inches. Sometimes called whiskers because of their 4 barbels hanging from its mouth, they are a superbly adapted river fish with a slanted head to help cope with the fast flowing water. In juveniles they are spotted and have mottled muddy colours, but as they age they take on a fantastic bronze coloration. In the UK, barbel are at their most northern limit, so tend to spawn later than the rest of Europe, around late May and into June. The males will chase females before spawning on fast gravels, though unlike salmonids, they don't dig a red and just spawn in the general area. Barbel can live in still waters, but can't breed in them, so typically are only found in moving water. They are found as far north as the River Clyde near Glasgow, but more commonly in the eastern flowing rivers, and have been introduced to rivers like the Severn and Wye for angling. An old wives' tale says that barbel eggs are poisonous, so other fish don't eat them, but graylings certainly don't mind munching the white eggs. They tend to move around in shoals with fish of a similar size, and can often be seen hanging around with chub. They tend to feed on small invertebrates on the riverbed, and will take small fish when larger. Sometimes young barbel are confused with gudgeon, a small relative. The easiest way to tell the difference is in the barbels, as gudgeon have 2, while barbel have 4. A relatively long-lived coarse fish, they can get up to 20 years old. In today's fact file, we look at the bitterling. These small fish get to 2 inches at most. They were introduced to the UK from mainland Europe via the aquarium trade in the 1920s. They were popular as males developed vibrant breeding colours in the spring, though some inevitably ended up getting into our waterways. They mostly have a silver colour to them, looking like a tiny bream, but the males getting reds and blues along the sides. The eye is also red. Bitterling perhaps have the most unusual way of breeding of any British fish. The female deposits the eggs into a live freshwater mussel, which the male then fertilises. The eggs soon hatch and the fry will emerge. It's thought they do this to protect the eggs. They have a patchy distribution in Britain, with Norfolk, Cheshire and Shropshire being strongholds. They like ponds, lakes and slow-moving rivers, often hiding in large shoals, needing weed beds with a sandy or muddy bottom, ideal for freshwater mussels. While they don't have many benefits, they are one of the least concerned non-native fish due to the specialised way they breed and small size. In this fact file, we take a look at Bleak. The record being 4 ounce and a length of around 5 inches. They are quite a thin looking fish with an upturned mouth and a large eye. The scales have a beautiful silver colour to them and were used in the past to make fake pearls. In fact, the Cockney pearly kings and queens are so named because of the pearl essence taken from bleak scales out of the Thames, which was prolific with them. Mostly a surface feeder, they can be seen darting around the top in large shoals, sipping insects off the surface. They like slow-moving rivers and canals, and are not often found in still waters. Bleak breed in shallow, warm water, sometimes over gravel or weeds. They have been known, in rare cases, to hybridise with chub. There is another non-native species of bleak found in the UK called the sunbleak, though it's not closely related. They were an accidental release, and because of its fast breeding habits, egg eating, and that it can outcompete native fish, there are efforts in place to try and remove it. It's not widely found and is much smaller than native bleak, around 2 inches at most. Another name for it is a motherless minnow, due to the eggs being able to survive out of water for quite some time, so ponds would dry up and then refill and the fish would appear. This fact file is on bream. We have 2 species in Britain, with the largest being the bronze bream, also known as a common bream. They typically reach a size of 4 pounds. Lengthwise, they reach an average of 20 inches. Though some can reach over 20 pounds in the right conditions. Bream have a deep dinner plate shaped body and are laterally compressed. This aids large shoals of them feeding in close quarters. They are bottom feeders, and the bronze bream has a protruding mouth to suck up morsels of food from the lake bed. They prefer to eat mollusks, snails and worms. Young bronze bream are called skimmers due to the fact that when anglers catch them, they skim across the water. They have a paler colour to them and can be confused with the silver bream, which is a completely different species. They don't get nearly as big as bronze bream, with 3 pounds being an exceptionally large one. They have a large eye, red tinge to the fins, and a silvery flank, which sets them apart from skimmers. Bream prefer large lakes, canals, and slow-moving rivers, with the bronze bream being widespread across the country and the silver bream largely restricted to eastern waterways, though have been introduced into scattered venues across the country. Bream breed in the summer, the males following the females before releasing eggs in the weeds. Male bream have spawning tubercles, which looks like spots on top of the head. Bream can hybridise with roach, rudd, and both species crossbreed with each other. Although we have bream in the sea, they share only name and are not related to freshwater bream. This fat file is on the bullhead, known for its broad, bullish head and also called the miller's thumb. The name coming from bullheads favouring rapids like mill racers, but also because millers used to test flour by pressing it with their thumb, resulting in their thumbs flattening over years of testing. The shape of the bullhead and the miller's thumb were very similar. A small bottom-dwelling fish, they reach lengths of up to 5 centimetres and a weight of around 20 grams, though normally much smaller. They are the only freshwater member of its family in the UK and have a dark mottled coloration to the body and white piping on the fins. They have large pectoral fins, which almost act as hands to move along the riverbed and help hold in the current. The lack of a swim bladder also helps them keep low to the bottom. They have 2 dorsal fins, with the front one having short spines. The large mouth is used to gulp down small prey, like invertebrates and fish fry. They exhibit some parental care also, unusual among most UK fish. The male entices a female into his hole and she deposits around 100 eggs, which he can then guard until they hatch and disperse. He also displays breeding colours, going darker and the piping of the fins being more pronounced. Most commonly associated with moving water, bullheads are normally found in small rivers and streams, but can live quite happily in lakes, ponds and canals also. In fact, they've been found at the bottom of deep lakes like Rutland Water and Derwent Water at depths of up to 20 metres. Found in many Welsh and English rivers, it's not naturally found in Scotland, but has turned up in some lowland rivers. These fish are sensitive to pollution, so need a healthy, clean waterway to thrive. In this fact file, I take a look at the burbot, the only member of the cod family to live in fresh water. They can reach weights of up to 25 pounds, though the British burbot were unlikely to reach sizes much above 6 pounds. They're also known as cusk, eel pout, freshwater ling and the lawyer, so called because of its bottom feeding and slimy nature. The name burbot comes from the Latin barber, meaning beard, due to its lone barbel on its chin. It has a generally brown mottled appearance, though is highly variable, coming in shades of green, black, yellow and even purple. 2 dorsal fins are on display, with a tail fin at the back and large pectoral fins. Breeding, contrary to popular belief, doesn't have to happen under ice, and these fish can spawn up to 7 degrees Celsius, though prefer to breed in groups in the margins of floodplains, but will also breed in moving water and lakes. When the eggs hatch, the small burbot move to the surface and get carried away by the current. Most of the eggs don't survive, but burbot play the numbers game, with large females producing over 1 million eggs. Burbot are not currently found in the UK, but historically were found in eastern flowing rivers from South Yorkshire to Cambridgeshire. It's likely due to a mixture of pollution in the 1960s and the drainage of floodplains, their main spawning habitat. This is why they went extinct. And there's been no confirmed sightings of burbot since 1969. Due to burbot having so many offspring, if they were still present, they would have turned up by now. They prefer colder temperatures, but in the summer retreat to deep pools and lakes. These are top lowland predators and have been found to eat invasive species like signal crayfish, topmouth gudgeon and mitten crabs, helping clean up the ecosystem. Plans are underway to potentially reintroduce this fish into the Wissey in Norfolk, and if successful, could lead to further reintroductions into its past range of the Trent, Witham and Ouse. This fact file is on the carp. With an average weight of around 20 pounds and a length of 40 inches, they can get much bigger, the world record being a whopping 112 pounds from France. Often referred to as the common carp, they come in many different shapes and scale patterns, with the mirror carp, leather carp, king carp, and koi to name a few. 4 barbels hang from its large mouth, along with a single dorsal fin and large brush-like tail. Mirror carp were bred from common carp to have less scales and to make it easier to descale when preparing for a meal. They were introduced to Britain around the 15th century from Eastern Europe and often kept in stew ponds next to monasteries. It wasn't until the early 20th century that the advent of carp fishing became wildly popular in Britain, and they were stocked all across the country, now becoming one of the most widespread and favoured fish with anglers. Carp tend to be found in still waters like lakes and ponds, but do quite well in rivers and canals, though they are less common in faster moving watercourses. They'll grub around on the bottom, protruding its mouth to sift the lake bed, as well as sucking insects and food off the surface, where they often bask on the warm days. In the summer, when the water reaches around 18 Celsius, they'll begin to spawn in weedy margins, splashing about with the males crashing into females to encourage egg release. A relatively long-lived fish, they have a lifespan of around 20 years, but the record goes to Hanako the koi carp, which was 226 years old when it died in 1971. Being born in 1751, that makes the fish older than the United States of America. Although prized in much of Europe, their greedy habits, fast growth rate, and tolerance of dirty water means they can be a nuisance fish in other countries. They've been introduced to countries like America, Australia, and Canada. This fact file is on the chub. Often reaching weights of 3 to 5 pounds, they can get over 9 pounds. The length is normally 15 inches. Sometimes called a chevin, they have a dark brassy coloration to them, with flares of red on the fins and a black tail. Its large mouth is a clue to its greedy nature, and the origin of the word chubby comes from this fish. Chub are summer spawners, and will chase each other in groups around the gravels and fast-moving water. More commonly found in rivers, they can live quite happily in lakes, but can't breed in them, and can live in quite poor water quality. Chub can be quite unbalanced in numbers and size due to river conditions. For example, if a year has heavy flooding, many small chub get washed away, so few will survive, while on a year with more normal weather conditions, chub will thrive. This means some rivers may have lots of chub around a certain year class, say 3-pound fish, but nearly no fish under that. Despite not having any obvious teeth, the chub has sharp pharyngeal teeth at the back of its throat, which it uses to mince up smaller fish. It's not an overly fussy fish and will eat most things, with blackberries in the autumn being a favourite. Chub will move throughout the water column, happily taking food off the surface as well as the bottom. Chub are found all across the lowland rivers of England and Wales. Smaller chub, known as chublets, can be confused with their smaller cousin the dace. An easy way to tell the difference is chub have a convex outer edge to their dorsal and pelvic fins, while in the dace they're concave. This fat file is on the crusian. These dinner plate shaped fish typically get to 1 pound and 7 inches in length, though can get up to 4 pounds in weight. Sometimes known as the crusian carp, they are in fact their own species, but are closely related enough to hybridise with carp and goldfish. They have declined in recent years, partly because of habitat loss, with many farm ponds being drained, but also because of hybridising with goldfish and carp, making F1s, which dilute the gene pool, though are popular in match fisheries. They have beautiful golden colours to the large scales, and soft fins suited to a life in still water. Unlike carp, crusians don't have any barbels in the mouth. They often do well in small ponds, and one of the few fish you can stock into wildlife ponds. A fish that prefers life on the slow side, they aren't often found in moving water. The diet is made up mostly of plant matter, small worms and mollusks they can find on the bottom of the pond. Crusians frantically chase each other in the summer to spawn in thick weeds. They are a fairly placid fish and tend to get outcompeted in densely stocked waters with other fish species. They're a slow-moving fish, so are often an easy target for pike. In this fact file, we take a look at the dace, a common species of cyprinid normally getting to around 6 ounces, though a big one is over a pound. Its length is typically 6 to 7 inches, with a slender shape suited to life in moving water. Its name, dace, comes from the other name associated with them, darts, as they're fairly erratic in movements. Its fins are generally clear, with a bright silver colour to the flanks. They tend to form large shoals, especially in the winter, to avoid predators and prepare for spawning. Dace are early spawners for cyprinids around late Feb or March on shallow gravelly runs. The females can produce up to 9,000 eggs. Small chub can be distinguished from dace by the fact that their anal fin is convex, whilst that of a dace is concave, added to which their mouths are much smaller. Not a fussy eater, they'll eat most small invertebrates and plant matter. Although they can live in lakes, they can't breed in them, so are generally found in small streams, rivers and brooks. Dace are found in most river systems in Britain, except the far north, and have been introduced to Ireland by pike anglers, where they're a potential problem for native brown trout, as the dace have few diseases and parasites there that they would have in their native waters. In some parts of Europe it is eaten, but it's not a highly regarded food fish. The average lifespan of a dace is 8 to 10 years, although there may be older specimens in prime locations which live up to a maximum of 16 years. In this fact file, we look at the European minnow. Unsurprisingly, not a large fish, at a max of 6 inches and around 20 grams. The only minnow species in Britain, they sometimes get mixed up with the young of other species, which they will sometimes shoal with for safety. Through most of the year, minnows have black stripes down the flanks with pale gold hues, but during the spring, the males erupt into some spectacular breeding colours. White spots develop on the face called tubercles, which are a buildup of testosterone, and they also use them to rub against the female to encourage her to release eggs. His flanks are covered in reds, golds and metallic greens. The females get swollen bellies full of eggs. They release the eggs in gravel patches in shallow moving water or lake margins and can spawn multiple times through the year. The fins have no colour to them and an overall round appearance to the fish. Not too fussy in its diet, they eat most invertebrates and plant matter that fit in their mouths. Minnows can detect a predator's presence and communicate with their shoalmates by a chemical signal that is detected by olfactory nerves. The chemical is contained in specialised skin cells called alarm substance cells and are released from an injured or killed minnow. The shoalmates can detect the chemical and respond to the increased risk of predation. Minnows are typically a river fish found in the margins of faster water. They can live in ponds and lakes, but struggle to breed in them and often get picked off by predators. They form an important role in the food chain for many species of fish, like trout growing fat on them and the stunning kingfisher favouring them. They are the bread and butter of the river. They are widespread across the British Isles, being found in most river systems, though are not native to Scotland. This fact file is on the European eel. With an adult weighing around 4 pounds, they can get over 10 pounds in exceptional cases, with every pound roughly working out to 10 years of life. Some eels have reached sizes of 1.5 metres, though more commonly around 60 centimetres. The serpent-like body looks scaleless, but in fact is covered in tiny scales across its skin. The body is normally a brown to yellow colour, owing to its other name, the yellow eel. It has one continuous fin from its back to its belly and 2 pronounced pectoral fins. Eels are thought to breed in the Sargasso Sea in the North Atlantic, travelling 6,000 kilometres and 2 years before they reach the European shoreline. At this stage, they're known as glass eels, but within a few days turn brown to help blend into a freshwater environment and become elvers. Eels are critically endangered across Europe for a variety of reasons, warming waters shifting the Gulf Stream, barriers stopping their upstream migration, parasites, habitat loss, predation, illegal fishing, and hydro dams, to name a few. Eels are one of the few fish that can travel on land, normally short distances on wet nights. They can be found in all kinds of habitats, from large lakes, upland rivers, and coastal waters. More active at night, they rely on their sense of smell to track down small fish and invertebrates. They have good eyesight, and when returning to sea to breed, the body undergoes changes, including the eye getting bigger to help with travelling in the depths of the ocean, and a silver colour to its skin. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. This fact file is on the gudgeon. With a common weight of 2 ounces and a length of 4 inches, they are one of the smaller fish in British rivers. Sometimes known as a gonk or a glass carp due to its shiny and almost translucent looking body. Primarily a river fish, they also do very well in slow moving streams and canals, but when stocked into lakes, can thrive. They tend to hang around the edges of flows and creases, where the food gets washed up, and with its protruding mouth, suck it up. Gudgeon have speckled patches of blues and greens along its flanks, along with dark blotches. They have 2 barbels hanging from its mouth. Mostly a bottom feeder, they scour the riverbed in dense shoals, hoovering up any morsels of food. Gudgeon breed in the margins and deposit eggs over weeds and tree roots, normally from April to May. Gudgeon prefer murky water where they can feed on the detritus and be hidden from the many predators that feed on them. In days gone by, gudgeon were baked whole in pies, though have little to no food value now. There is some speculation that gudgeon numbers have declined in recent years in Britain, and theories include the cleaning up of our waterways, as gudgeon like things dirty, and the introduced sander, which predate them, seem to be prime candidates.